here and say hello. Hi, we're back. Welcome back, everybody. I have to mute some voices really quick so that we don't have double audio, and then I'm gonna unmute all my friends. Hello, it's good to see everybody. We're all here now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, we've got 4 wonderful Firekeepers. Which is so funny that I keep saying that Firekeepers are here because this is a Firekeepers event and Firekeepers have been here all day.
Firekeepers have been everywhere.
Yeah. We're out here. But I'm Jen. Hello. I'm moderating the panel today and we are going to be playing. We're not playing any games. We're playing the game of just chatting, actually. We are going to be participating and hosting a panel called Play Queer, Stay Queer. I thought the title was kind of cute. This is the highs and lows of being visibly queer on Twitch and how we handle hate, build community, and why visibility matters. That's the overarching conversation that we're having, and we're joined by the wonderful Grin. Hello, please tell us about you.
Hi. Just throw me right at the wolves there.
I did. I'm so sorry. I went left to right. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Hi, my name is Grinning Hazard. A lot of people call me Hazard or Grinning or Grinner. The nicknames are many. I am a live streamer, Twitch partner, cosplayer, LARPer, nerd. I'm just a big gay nerd.
I love that. That's good energy.
Short and sweet, to the point.
Haver of amazing hair. Thank you, Mooney. That's great. And we're also joined by the lovely Zuzu. Please tell us about you.
Hi, guys. I'm Orzel. I also go by Orzu or Zuzu, so whatever you would like to call me. I use she, they pronouns. I am a variety streamer, but pretty recently I kind of have been leaning a little bit more into FromSoft and then like crafting. So I've been doing a lot of like knitting and crocheting streams. And so stuff like that's, I don't know, really meaningful to me. I love being on online spaces and being queer and getting to be on a cool team like the Firekeepers where there's so many of us.
Yeah, we got a lot to do.
And I have 2 cats.
Little finger tappies. That was adorable.
Your 2 cats. Wait, that's so cool. Wait, what are their names?
Mars and Saturn, after my favorite sailors in Sailor Moon.
Oh, that's just
that.
so queer. I love it. And we have the wonderful Ghoul. Please tell us about you.
I am Ghoul's a ghost. You can call me Ghoul, you can call me Ghost, either is fine. I am a trans-masked, non-binary streamer and artist. I made pretty much everything that you can see behind me. The only thing I didn't make was some of the, the fan art behind me. But I made all the little plushies on my walls. I make models as well. Like, I made my model, I've made models for a lot of my friends, a lot of being which are trans or non-binary or fall under the queer spectrum.
Hell yeah. We'd love to see it. And we have the ever cross-pathable, because we're in every community together, Nerdy Fam Gaming. Tell us about you.
Yes. I am Nerdy Fam Gaming. I typically just go by Nerdy. I'm definitely here, queer, and my anxiety is always moderate to severe.
Amen. +1.
Felt.
I am a trans femme gender fluid. I do a huge variety of content. I've been streaming here on Twitch for 4 years.
That's exciting.
Well, 4 years as of like 2 weeks from now, but yeah, I do a variety. Just recently started my Souls journey, actually. Because I have a terrible PC, but my new one gets here tomorrow, so that's going to change and
There we go.
do a lot more content.
That's exciting.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
exciting. So, I'm Jen. Hi. If you guys don't know me, I forgot. Hello. This is my channel. Hello, I'm the leader of the Firekeepers, and I love hosting events for the teamies to join in. And today I wanted to chat about some difficult topics, and these wonderful creators above me decided to join in and chat with everybody and each other about some difficult topics, like being visibly queer on Twitch, handling hate, which is an unfortunate thing that happens all the time and drastically, but building community and also the importance of why visibility matters. I have a couple of questions that I wanted to get us started with, and of course, if anyone wants to jump in, just ensure that we're letting everyone speak and all the things that I've said. Let's start off with our first question. What has been your proudest moment as an openly queer streamer? We're starting off positive.
I think being like a father figure to a lot of like my community has been really nice.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of my community that refer to me as dad because a lot of them grew up in not very nice households.
Mm-hmm.
So they like coming to my space because they're allowed to be who they want to be or who they should be. Like I have one viewer in particular, they have called me dad since they met me. And they always get excited whenever they come in and I'm like, oh my god, hi! How is my child doing today? And they get super excited and it's really cute.
Yeah. Anyway,
Careful, that's a slippery slope. Before you know it, they're going to be coming to your house for the holidays, like mine.
That's true. That's true. And then our communities are
honestly
getting
probably wouldn't
Airbnbs
mind
together. Oh no.
I honestly probably wouldn't mind that too much.
Hell yeah. Grin, what's your proudest moment as an openly queer streamer? Yeah.
Honestly, like, making the milestone for myself that I decided a while ago I wanted to start taking streaming more seriously, do it sort of full-time. I still work full-time, but also doing streaming full-time. But kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, like, I'm not going to compromise. I have a very hostile attitude towards the good vibes only mentality.
Yeah.
And I'm very like, no, if you're going to be in my community, I kind of do want to make sure that you're not an intolerant piece of garbage. And if you are, I don't want you here. I don't want your likes. I don't want your clicks. I don't want you to follow me on Twitter. I don't want it. And I did that. I was very vocal about that, and somehow still blundered my way into a checkmark 2 years ago. And it has been just this wild sort of affirming journey of like, okay, I can accomplish a thing that generally is seen as something you have to sort of sacrifice your morals.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to, I was able to just say I refused to compromise and managed to still do it. So.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Nerdy, what about you?
Um,
I said I was gonna call on you. I warned you.
I've been sitting here trying to think about this question. Actually.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about your thought process.
So, kind of bouncing off the same. It was just when I first started on Twitch, it was I grinded very, very hard because I was unemployed and grinded very hard to hit affiliate. And I very well burned myself out because I accomplished it in my first 2 months of streaming.
Yeah.
And then I took a good year off from even watching Twitch, streaming, everything. And then just Christmas Eve, I just had this thought of, I want to get back to streaming. I miss it. And then just kind of set the goal to stream more often. It's kind of fallen the wayside the last couple of months with medical issues, but I'm just being this, just, striving for an inclusive space for anyone of any walk of life to come in and just chat and vibe and hang out.
Yeah. No, that's really important. Being here and being available and being open and being visible is important. But before I move on to the next question, Orzu, what's your proudest moment as an openly queer streamer?
Yeah, honestly, I think for me, just being openly queer on Twitch, like at all, just because I am, at least in my personal life, like I'm not out in like all of my spaces, and so like I feel like being out on Twitch is sort of scary if I were to ever have like an IRL person like come in, but it is something that I have had to learn to be proud of, and I've taken the steps to be like more openly like queer and much more proud of it, and it has brought a lot of wonderful joy in my life so far. So, you know, just the whole ride so far since I started streaming.
I love that. And I love that everyone sort of touched on something slightly different, whether it be like a community milestone or, you know, maintaining sort of your trajectory through being headstrong and like being a force, or like just coming through and streaming even when things feel wrong or feel different. Like that's really, really cool. And I love the community here that we have within the Keepies and within just our Twitch space and our web of friends, that there's so many viewers that come through and see us being who we are, that gives them more confidence to be who they are. And that is, to me, is the biggest like win, and I feel so proud when someone comes in and says, hey, being in this community or on Twitch or I'm glad you introduced me to this person, blah blah blah, that has inspired me to come out in this way. And that's mwah, chef's kiss. Love that shit. Delicious. But
absolutely
that talks about the importance of visibility, like being visible. So what does visibility mean to you? And how do we balance being open and with protecting our peace? Who wants to answer first?
I can take this one.
Take it. Do it. Yeah.
My answer is probably going to be fairly different than what a lot of folks
I'm curious what you're going to say.
I'm really not afraid of anything. I am still a, you know, upper middle class white male passing individual.
Right.
I have privilege to spare, and I don't care about harassment. It doesn't affect me. I have you know, reached that part in my life. So for me, it's about sort of being unabashedly myself to a point where at least in the spaces that I curate and do so carefully, everybody feels unabashedly able to be themselves.
Absolutely.
You know? That, you know, I know it'll come up later, but like, yes, that puts a target on you. And I'm also, you know, I'm 41 years old. I've been dealing with it for a while now, and it just, I'm lucky and fortunate enough that I've kind of reached the point where I'm like, I kind of like who I am, and if you're not down with that, like, go fuck yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's 100% my stance. And this community, I even say, I'm like, I don't really I don't really say that I'm a safe space, because I'll kick anyone's ass.
My hands are rated E for everyone.
My hands are here. But
yes.
truly, it's about being a space that can project protecting yourself. And that's what I try to do. But
yeah. If I can answer,
of course,
I
please,
think,
yes.
Yeah, because I think another answer that I would have that would also be a little different is like to not also being visibly queer, but then also like being a person of color as well, like on Twitch, and to have like conversations and trying to embody intersectionality like as much as I can, and to make sure that, you know, multiple voices are being heard, or everyone's experiences, or even being able to talk about like maybe culturally why, you know, some people may not be out to their family, but they're always going to be out to their friends and things like that. You know, like there's so many like culture things that go into effect into people's experiences as they are trying to navigate like their identity and how they move publicly.
Yeah.
And I think it's, yeah. So I feel like that's visibility to me, is making sure all my identities like are coming together as well, you know?
Definitely. No, intersectionality, I mean, even within what Grin was saying with being in a position that you are, and then Orzu being in a position that you are, there's intersectionalities that line all the entire sandwich of life, and it's important to embody them. It's important to shout them out. It's important to be open and talk about those things, because the more that someone says or like tries to hide privilege in a way, the more that we're like, hey, you know, actually we need to talk about that more. So yeah, you even saying that directly was really important to me. And both of you, yes. Ghoul, Nerdy, any additional comments?
I've found that a lot of the ammunition that a lot of harassers use don't actually work on me. Because I have a very like far vocal range, and I play into it a lot. So I can go from like my normal speaking voice to something a little more like this. So a lot of them will try and like tear me down about my voice, but I've gotten so much more comfortable with it.
Sure.
That whenever they try, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And I find that if I don't pay attention to them, they just leave.
Sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important. Nerdy, do you have any other additional comments?
Yeah, so kind of bouncing off a little bit. At least for me personally, with the whole visibility is the because, like, for example, in my personal life, I am a special education paraprofessional. I'm a teacher's aide.
Yeah.
I can't be open or as open about my gender identity within that space, because I am in a very conservative red state. And just knowing that there's this place here on Twitch for me to be absolutely 100% myself, and being visible and letting everyone know that it's okay to be yourself, and just being that, and just showing that it's okay and that you can be yourself, and
yeah,
there's going to be people that are going to support you for it.
Exactly. And I think online spaces where you can be yourself is so important, and that really touches on, I mean, everyone's comments really touched on the importance of, you know, maintaining that balance of like, whether it's be overtly wherever you are you, or it's I actually have to protect myself in these spaces. Like it's important that we have all of those conversations, and it's important that we like showcase all of those things in so that people can find their person or their story right in front of them. And the zoom in was crazy. Okay,
somebody in chat
were talking about your eyes. You said you want to look at them.
I was responding to the chat, and I looked back, and I just got jump scared.
We got jump scared.
I'm sorry.
That was
no,
great.
please. It was so good. It was so good.
Somebody said that they liked my eyes, and I'm like, here, I'll zoom in real quick so you can see them.
I do love that we have like a mixture of people here speaking who are a little bit more reserved and a little bit more open. I think it really helps us have a conversation about like that middle ground and like sort of the highs and lows in general. So this is great. Time to go whittle low. Let's talk about harassment. Let's try not to talk about specifics and bring up traumas, but have you faced harassment or hate on Twitch? Probably yes, but have you? And then the real question here is, how did you push through and reclaim your space?
Oh, I can take this one.
Yeah, please.
It actually happens fairly often because I am, as I like to refer with my VTuber community, I'm a flesh tuber.
I am also a flush tuber.
Yeah.
Me, the only VTuber in this call.
It's okay, you're here. We love VTubers.
And yes, definitely. And being gender fluid here on the internet, I present a variety of ways depending on how personally which way I'm leaning.
Mm-hmm.
So actually quite often I do get some harassment, hate about just, visually.
Sure.
But I just, the way I push through and reclaim is I just flat out look at the message and I'm like, okay, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. I am who I am. You can either A, change your attitude, or you can get the fuck out of here and you're going to be banned.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is your one chance to change that attitude or get out.
Absolutely. No, reclaiming and telling someone that, like, no, this is the wall. You've tried to break into the wall. You're actually going to go back on the other side now. Thank you.
You're just going to go out there, out the gate. Goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go, what about you?
As I mentioned, a lot of it has to do with my voice.
Sure.
So I've actually kind of turned some of my harassment into longtime viewers. Mostly to put it mildly. Nope. I think one of them came in and tried to call me something, and I think I retaliated with using my more feminine voice, and I think I gave them an awakening because they've stuck around since. And they're a lot nicer than they were. I think they just had a lot of like repressed things, because that's what I notice is a lot of people who harass LGBTQ members is they're also usually LGBTQ themselves.
No, you don't say.
Really?
Right?
You said projecting.
But I think treating them with kindness is what helped bring them into being more comfortable with themselves.
You're in the call, but your person disappeared.
Oh,
now you're back. Okay, that was weird. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was interesting.
You were here the whole time. I looked at the call and I was like, wait, you're not gone.
Right? I watched them disappear and I was like,
they never disappeared for me. So
no, that's why I was like, what the heck? They were in the call.
I still only see 4 people.
Huh.
Whoa.
No, we're here. There's 4 of us. Oh, you don't see Ghoul anymore.
No, I don't see Ghoul.
Ghoul literally became a ghost.
Ghoul is a ghost, guys. Ghoul's a ghost. You're in the call, though. You're leaving.
I'm still here, I promise.
If you leave and come back, you might reconnect. I'll be right back. That's okay. That's okay. Orzu, do you have any additional comments about like taking back your space?
Absolutely. And I mean, thankfully, I haven't experienced anything too intense, but I definitely have gotten some stuff, and it's usually things that are caught by automod that I kind of just
unfortunately see either way.
And I just sort of deal with it, or like a mod has dealt with it. And something that I noticed was I actually experienced it, I think, a lot more frequently at the start of when I first started streaming.
Yeah.
And I don't experience it as much anymore, I if at all. And not that I don't have weird interactions sometimes.
I mean, sure.
Yeah. But and I definitely think that sometimes they people just like to take advantage of the fact that you are a super new streamer, and they just they like bullying you. They like to keep you down when you first start. And that is honestly where community so heavily comes into play. I'm grateful that in a way I was a viewer before I was a streamer, and so I had people to kind of talk to. I had friendships, I had people that I kind of already had to kind of help keep me grounded and keep me going if there was anything ever really weird or really off. And so that friendships can really make or break that kind of thing, to just go and vent about for a little while, you know?
Big true. Grin, do you have any other comments?
Humor is everything with me.
Oh,
so,
same.
I mean, I was going to say the initial knee-jerk reaction, if you really want to shut them down, is you tell them that you're going to fuck their dad.
Yeah. That's true.
It's...
I love how nerdy's just losing their mind.
It has worked so many times. It works in streaming spaces. It works in gaming spaces. It works in conventions. It especially works at conventions. Again, I am an individual who lives with a great deal of privilege.
Yeah.
I am, the only thing that ever stopped me was breaking my back, and I've refused to even let that stop me. I'm not afraid of reprisals from people. So I just kind of, I stand my ground. And I mean, for myself, but also, you know, for others where needed. But like, I just kind of meet it head on, and I diffuse with humor. Anybody from my community knows, when somebody shows up to my chat and they start trying to be shitty, they start trying to be, you know, like insulting or just, you know, bigotous, my chat tears them apart. And it's like so good for my soul.
I love when the chat helps out a little bit. It helps so
Collective
much.
snacking
Because not
on
only
the,
because at that point, not only am I using a position of essentially power in a community setting to be able to sort of lash out at somebody being abusive, but the folks in my chat who may not themselves in their day-to-day life feel empowered to do that, get to practice.
Exactly that.
That's a great point.
I really am not on the opposite side. Sometimes I like to play with our food, sure, but I've really found it powerful to, I mean, the cliche, ignore them and they'll go away, because it fucking works. We literally just delete their comments or turn off my notifications if it's a hate follow or whatever, and I just keep streaming. I just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't look at the thing. We just keep on going, and then it just goes away. Like, it really, really works for me, and it might not work for everybody, because I could see comments and not be hurt. Not everyone can say that, though. But I definitely just... We have the mods on that ban hammer, and we know what the vibes are here, and I just keep on trucking, and people come in, they realize that their pebbles aren't breaking the window, and they're just like, all right, well, guess I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So a lot of it is about them getting that reaction that they're wanting to get from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the same with any online space, right? Like, you go to a comment section and it's just people trying to get you inflamed. They want to be able to say, I'm living rent free in your head.
Yeah.
Look at how triggered you are. Look at you. They want that. When you take that away from them, sure, there are exceptions, but when you take that power away from the majority of them, they have no idea what to do with themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Script of insults, they play through that script and they don't actually have any wit of their own. So if you try to meet them on that, they fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's... No, please, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
Another way that I tend to mitigate it is I have anonymous follows. So a lot of harassers will try to get their name to show up on screen.
Yep.
So a lot of trans streamers like myself and other ones that I know, we all have anonymous followers because it mitigates that. So when they follow us, they don't see their name, they just see thank you for the follow, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get the reaction that they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely that. And I think sort of talking about like
anonymous.
Oh, same. I mean, I've had fears of like certain words showing up that someone like myself cannot have in my spaces, and things like that slip through the cracks, and people utilize it, and they really try to spam your screen, and I'm like, absolutely not. Anonymous it is. But sort of talking about moderation and like safety tools, does sort of lead us into the next question is like, how do we make our streams and communities feel safe and welcoming for queer folks?
What is happening in your chat, Jen?
Okay. they're having fun. They're having fun. Just let them. They're having fun.
They're having a good time.
I think I gave some people some new scripts to try out the next time.
All I read is poor Ash Ketchum, and then she really seems less stressed since Ryan showed up, and I'm like, oh.
But Ash Ketchum aside, how do we make our communities feel safe? Yeah. And welcoming to queer folks? We've talked about moderation tools. We talked about on-screen, notification blocking, things like that. Keeping your moderators educated about what you want in your communities. Yep. But what else can we do?
It is not enough. Go ahead. Go.
So I can kind of take this one. So I will use the words of a very close person to me here on Twitch, is that you cannot claim to be a safe space because you can't determine what a safe space is for someone. You can be a welcoming and inclusive environment for someone, but you cannot be a safe space. So just, doing whatever you can to just communicating with all your chat, being there and active, and for myself, I am very mental health and self-care focused in my community, because mental health is one of the biggest things to me, and just reminding everyone that they are free to talk about kind of whatever they want. If it gets too out of hand or it's just not the time for something, just reminding them that, hey, probably not the time or place for this. Take it to Discord or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think safe space commentary in the chat here, we had someone say, Crowbatty said, you can be an intentional space. And I actually really enjoy that that phrasing.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
And I did sort of mention earlier how I don't refer to myself as a safe space, but my community, just on looks and vibes, is gay. Because I am, and that's the space I intentionally cultivated. Now, I can't protect anyone's safety online. That's just not how that works. But I can punch a bitch. We can teach our friends to punch a bitch, and that's what we like to do here. Rated E! My community is really focused on accountability with your actions and making sure that you're keeping yourself safe. And we keep each other safe as a family, too. We call out bullshit. We make sure we're keeping each other safe, and that's, to me, a safe space. But I don't say, this is a safe space, get in here. I don't personally do that. I know people do, and they have their reasonings, but I don't, specifically for what Nerdy was saying, that you can't. It's kind of the same argument that you can't say you're a nice guy, someone has to call you a nice guy. I can't say I'm a safe space, someone has to say I'm a safe space. And that's really it for me. But sorry to take it away from the panelists. I just had I had a soapbox. I'm getting off.
This is just as much you as it is us,
It's actually a way of thinking about it that I hadn't really myself really thought about the words, and I kind of was like, you're right. You can. I think what I would say, I guess in my case, is that the goal is to attempt to curate a protected space.
Yes.
So mental health, which can sometimes lead to trauma dumping.
Yes.
We have the idea of being socially conscientious and aware without necessarily exposing people to harmful politics and news. And then you have everybody's desire to have NSFW in some space or another. The easiest way I found to do all of that was to make those strictly opt-in spaces. I didn't create a channel that said, here, you can go here to vent. I created something called the Long Couch, which you specifically have to join, understanding that by going there, not only are you able to share your mental health journey and woes, but you will also be exposed to, you know, the journey and woes of others.
Right.
The same with politics, because I don't want to shy away from what is going on in the world, but I don't want to, you know, lambast my community with news when maybe they're just trying to get a little escapism.
Yeah.
You know?
Informed consent, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the biggest thing that like me and my mod team sort of came up with when we were sort of framing the Discord. And Discord gives you a lot of really good tools for that.
Yeah.
And then connecting with things like Guardians MH, which is like a mental health organization in gaming, because I'm not a mental health professional, right? I can't, if somebody comes to me and they're like, here is my problem, I can go, as somebody who goes to therapy,
go to therapy?
Therapy? You know, like, but like,
Maybe
get a journal.
But the reality is that, like, I'm not equipped.
Yeah.
I don't have the right tools. You know what I mean? It'd be like coming to me for medical advice. I broke my back and then lived 18 months with it still broken before I even found out. I am not a person to go to for health advice.
That makes sense.
But yeah, like protected space, I feel like is a better. I had never really thought about that before. Thank you for that. Actually.
We love all just learning and talking about our experiences. Does anyone have any other comments or anything they want to say?
I have a safe word command
okay.
on my channel.
Elaborate.
So sometimes when we're just talking, we'll get into some heavy topics. I know I've mentioned it in the kind of venting section of the Firekeepers Discord.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot going on. But sometimes topics will get really heavy.
Yeah.
Some people are uncomfortable with that. So if, say, I'm talking about like some medical issues that have been happening in my life, and somebody is not comfortable with medical talk, they can hit the safe word redeem, which is only 1 point, and it'll basically make a noise in my headphones that's just saying enough, and I will change the topic.
Right. That's really
sometimes
fascinating.
people will abuse it, so I have to turn it off every now and again.
Sure, because they're like, let's just move on. Yeah.
Generally my community is really good about it.
Yeah.
And that's one way that I keep my space kind of cozy and comfortable. I've been told by a few of my viewers that I'm their comfort streamer. A lot of them tend to listen to me when they're going to bed, because apparently my voice is really soothing.
Apparently me screaming at 4 a.m. also puts people to sleep, but that's...
Right? I do the same thing. And I'm a horror game streamer, so I'm playing
I think it's because it's 3 a.m. I don't know.
Jen, I can tell you, as somebody who has accidentally left these on, no, the hell it does not. It wakes me from a sound sleep and scares the shit out of me.
I'm sorry.
No one to blame but myself.
So,
that's funny.
We've talked a lot about, protecting the community, but let's talk a little bit about protecting ourselves, and making sure that, even with mental health, or even with, just being a queer individual, outward and visible, how do we take care of ourselves when the internet or the world feels too fucking loud? Especially right now. Orzi, what do you got?
Oh my gosh. Okay, like I hate it, but it also does help me. So if this doesn't work for you, it's fine. But like sometimes for me, it really is just going down and laying in the grass and just touching it for a while.
Oh yeah,
like,
recenter.
I am so sorry. I say this all the time in my streams too. I'm like, I am so sorry. They are right. Go outside. Like it helps so much. But it sucks. But it really does. But like, especially for me, because like I am so it's so easy for me to get so sucked into like just doom scrolling and news cycling and all of that that I try to find little ways to ground myself in the fact that like my partner and I sometimes like on a Friday, like after I'm done with the stream and after like they're done with work, Sometimes we'll like go outside and we'll like drink a beer outside, but instead of maybe doing it in the backyard, we'll take our chairs out to the front yard so that we can say hi to our neighbors as they're like outside, just like on their walks. And so just like these really small little things that help you feel connected to people, like just around you, that are just really small in that way. You know, like I'm doing nothing more except just like waving at my neighbors and saying hi, it's beautiful out, you know, but like it helps me so incredibly much. And I'll be out there with like, you know, like a crochet project or a knitting project. You know, dark humor is not always part of it, but it helps me get through a lot of things as well too. Honestly, just sitting and playing video games with my friends, you know, and staying up until 4 or 5 in the morning.
6 a.m. playing Night Rain.
You know, like seriously, all of just like my little hobbies that I love to do, I try to just do them in a way that is making sure that I'm doing it in a way that is grounding myself, not as a way of like escapism. Sometimes you gotta allow yourself some escapism, but like I said, like just taking it outside instead, taking it on, you know, by a lake or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just really little things help so much.
Wonderfully said. I do agree. Does anyone have any other ways that they sort of reset when you have that queer burnout, that, you know, like there's just so much going on in the world that we're just like, how do I get away from it all, literally?
I oftentimes will go on long walks with my younger sister. I have 2 sisters. One is 13, the other one is 17. And I often go for walks with the 17-year-old because she just likes going outside. And she likes dragging me with her because I buy her things.
Yeah.
But we'll often go for walks. Sometimes I'll go for walks with my boyfriend, or we'll just sit in our living room and just play a game like couch co-op.
Yeah.
We do that a lot. Sometimes we'll lay in bed and just snuggle and we'll talk about our day, talk about issues that we're having. I'm very bad about it, but I tend to, being ADHD and autistic, I don't process things normally, and I have a very bad habit of deflecting. But my boyfriend helps me kind of process things and at my pace.
Yeah.
Which helps a lot.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Nerdy, you look like you want to say something. Yeah?
Just the excited little wiggles.
So, being, kind of going off of what Ghost kind of said a little bit, was that I myself am ADHD as well. So oftentimes the too loud and too cruel is from inside, in my own head.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's either reading some very smutty books, or or it's actually getting on Twitch and streaming and being in the community where there is these low expectations of what you've got to produce or put out.
Yeah.
And just playing video games and hanging out with understanding community.
I agree. I think I'm kind of the opposite, actually. My space, you know, with Tom, my space is it is my escapism. Wow. Whenever I feel pressure, thanks for the MySpace joke, Kat.
Yeah, wow.
It took a second, but we got there. I'm old. But when I get overwhelmed with life, I actually just stream. Like, that's kind of why I stream for 12 hours at a time sometimes. Yeah. And I don't post about my political like outgoing things that I'm doing. Like, I'm going to protest, I'm going to do things, I'm calling my senator, I'm being about it, because I think being about it is better than posting about it. But I stream. This is my space for me to just be a derpy little girly. And
Be a derpy little
girly playing games and laughing, because I need that. And sometimes I need that for 6, 7, 17 hours at a time to feel something. And
isn't that why we all play Souls games? To feel something?
You know?
Frustration.
Yeah, so I do
The
love
masochist
going
is
out,
fine.
and I do think it's important to go out, and I definitely do, and my name is Jen is online, I am chronically online as well, but my escapism is this stream right here. But I like to break the wall a little bit every couple weeks to just, you know, make cool events and do fun things, or we have the hard conversations, and I remind people that I'm a derpy little girly, but I'm also out here being about it, okay? We're going out, we're protesting, we're calling people, we're doing the things, we're doing the work, and me as a white woman who is in a space of well, I'm very poor, but I'm not in a poor area. I utilize that space, and I make sure that I'm doing everything that I can do in my position, and then I don't post about it though. I just kind of do it. It's I could go on a whole thing about performatism, and I do not want to, but that is not what this is about. But I'm just saying, I get online when I need some space from life.
Yeah. That's why I try not to cancel streams too, because for very similar reasons. I don't stream as much as you. Props to you, but you know, but it's for very similar things that I'm like, when I'm really feeling it, I'm like, the world feels like it's crushing me, but then I get to like come online and I get to share the space with people, you know, and like, you know, my community and I will talk about it, and obviously we'll talk about it in a way that doesn't get like too triggering or like too traumatic or anything, but just to be able to just like come together and be like, God, like, shit sucks right now, you know, even just to be able to do that, and like for me to walk away and be like, you know what, I'm so glad that I did stream, because I'm walking away feeling so much better. Like, truly, community does so many wonderful things. Like, that's always my big thing. I can't get enough of it, you know.
Absolutely.
Streaming was like how I set my clock when we all got locked up in our freaking houses. For the better part of 2 years. The only thing I had was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I got on camera in front of my friends, and every Monday we played Jackbox, and they made the same jokes every week, but it held us all together.
It was worth it. Okay.
Yeah. And
we're keeping the streak going about our joke from 3 weeks ago.
You know, everybody, whenever, you know, I had to cancel a stream last week because I had a huge home emergency, and everybody was like, "Oh, take the time you need." I'm like, "No, you guys don't get it.
The time I need is here.
This is my peace." Like, you know, I this is where I feel the most myself. This is where I get to sort of shift that weight. You know, that is my recovery period. That, and I will say this again, if you have the means, therapy.
Yeah, definitely.
The impact it has had on my life, going on now only 2 years in session, and the amount of things I have learned about the way my mind works. If you have access to it, man, it could be one of the best decisions you ever made for yourself.
Absolutely. Are you ready for our final question?
Yeah.
We've reached our hour, which is crazy. It went by so fast.
Oh my god.
All right, final question. What does your dream Twitch look like for queer creators? Big or small? What would meaningful progress look like to you? Speak to Dan Clancy right now. Tell him what you feel.
IP banning for repeat offenders and harassers.
Real, yes.
I agree with that.
Real.
You want to do that shit, take it to Kick. Get off my platform.
Exactly.
Get out of my house. I don't want you here.
Yes.
I like that one. That would be meaningful. I think IP banning repeat offenders would be a meaningful change.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? We got a first time chat with a clap on that one.
Brendan had it like pretty much perfectly.
You said, actually, let me just grab my gun that I have right here.
Because that would make a lot of places a lot more comfortable to be.
Yeah.
It's just getting rid of anyone that... Also ban evasions.
Yeah.
It would get rid of ban evasions.
It would.
That's the big thing, is you have these people who make multiple accounts just to go around and be cruel, and there's no way to stop it.
Yeah.
You would lose. I obviously, I don't have math for it, but it would be a significant percentage of the kind of people, or at the very least, they would actually have fear of consequences.
Yeah.
The reality is that the reason why people harass other people in online spaces is because there are no consequences. Add them.
Yeah.
If you're listening to me, man, if you're watching this VOD, if you're seeing it on YouTube, give us the ability to actually give tangible consequences to people who are doing harm to the folks who come to this platform just to find a little peace.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, I would like to add that I think for more visibility, I think it's important to not just have shelves during the month that we have a history month or an awareness month. I think we are making big changes, of course, with the year-long shelves, like the what is it called? They didn't call it the disability shelf. They called it something else. I think that something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm on it. I just don't know what it's called. But yeah. So just having more things like that, having them more pressed, and having recommendations not be people who already have 20,000, 30,000 views from YouTube and things like that. I think not to turn it on me, but I think having events like this on Twitch, the page, would be great. Either calling for creators to host events on Twitch like this, or reaching out to smaller creators, people who aren't averaging 5,000-6,000 of views, and asking them to be panelists, because people who have smaller communities have just as much to say, if not more sometimes. And I think it's important that they sort of, mix the bag a little bit. A lot of
I think that would cover too, making sure that more like queer BIPOC streamers could be more visible as well too, because they tend to be the smaller streamers, and I think I think the math behind the wall, however it freaking works, really trying to push more diversity out for people so they can, because half the time I think we all know this, but half the time people being scared of a certain demographic is just a lack of exposure to it, and being able to see someone up there who looks differently than you, it probably do you really good, do a lot of people a lot of good, you know? Yeah.
Your quality turned into a Minecraft pixel, but we're back.
Oh, we did?
The message was still there.
Do you feel like a possible road to that is giving more power isn't the right word, more resources to the guilds? Because I feel like the guilds are a step in the right direction. But they're also just volunteers helping streamers using their own time while they themselves are trying to be streamers, right? And
the guild leaders do get paid.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good, because they friggin' deserve it.
They just don't work. They don't work for
they
Twitch.
So
they're
work.
paid as contracted people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not employees of Twitch, though. They do,
I
and they are
like...
working on it. And I would say things like that, they've had more access directly to staff, more feedback. So I think that is a jump in the right direction.
Yeah.
But other things, I also think that, not everyone is in the guilds, So I think it is also important to have those things more publicly. Because then it sort of becomes more and more okay, well, now you have to be in this group to have this voice, and this group to have this voice, and it just sort of becomes very muddied. But all feedback is good feedback, at least sometimes. All right, anyone got any final words? Well, I don't mean to like sound like I'm gonna kill you, but
do you have any final words?
Yeah. Or like non-binary is part of the women's guild, which doesn't feel great. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being either, it's definitely, it's in the works. You know, they're doing what they can. Corporate always moves slow, but I don't necessarily stand with it.
Remember, at the end of the day, they're also a business that is trying to make money.
Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah.
But we're out here, and we're utilizing the business to create our homes. So
yeah,
and I think it's important that we do pat them on the back when they do good things, and I think that is a good
100%.
thing.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, final words, finger guns.
Stick 'em up.
I thought you wanted us to do finger guns together.
I mean, you can. I always said final words, and I was like, I don't mean to act like I'm gonna kill you, so I did finger guns. It's fine. Too layered. We're getting raided from Tabitha. Hello.
Oh my gosh, hi, Raiders.
And Celestial Frog. Oh my gosh, hi. Welcome in, friends. It's good to see everybody. We are just wrapping up our conversation about the highs and lows of being visibly queer on Twitch. It's been fun. It's been really, really good. We're getting some final words. If anyone has any comments, any uplifting motions or anything that they want to pass on to our queer friends.
You are never too old to start figuring it out.
Yes.
I
100%.
was 38 years old before I started questioning anything about my identity. I am a 41-year-old baby queer person.
I love that.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is never too old,
go.
and frankly, you can keep changing. You can keep making new decisions about yourself. That
Every
process
day.
doesn't stop until you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As a trans person, it is okay to detransition if you find that it's not who you are anymore.
Yeah.
100%.
Detransitioning is not like the end of the world. It is okay for that to not be who you are anymore.
Yeah.
You're always changing. You're growing.
You're always changing. Yep.
Yeah. Mine is going to be along this similar lines of what Grin was saying, and this is something I've sort of been living by in my life the past few years, which is like the older I get, like the more I realize how little I know about myself, but the older I get, the more I find comfort in that. And just the fact that, you know, you're gonna be changing like forever, and how you feel now is gonna be different in the future, and just roll with it, you know, like allow yourself to explore who you are at any point about anything in your life, whether it's your career, your job, is it your friendships, is it your sexuality, is it your gender expression, whatever it is. Life hasn't ended. You are still young, trust me.
Always.
You know?
We're young until we die, baby.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nerdy.
Basically, what I would say is never be afraid to be yourself. There is always going to be a place out there that's going to accept you for who you are. But if you are, you know, coming out, make sure you are doing so in a safe environment.
Yeah. Hell yeah. You all are amazing. This was so great.
This is so wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Really
Look at us.
fun
We were
day.
nervous. And for what? Let's do some shout outs. Nerdy, will you tell people where they can find you, what you do over on your channel? I will grab a shout out for you in chat.
Yes, so I'm Nerdy. I'm mostly here on Twitch. I will eventually be starting to develop things for YouTube, but that's down the road. A lot of variety content, lots of like Zelda and Mario more than anything. In fact, my next event here, starting here in an hour, Fruities, Pride Parade Raid Train tonight.
We love.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hell yeah. Ghouls, tell us about you.
I play spooky scaries and everything in between, so I'm a variety streamer, but I tend to go with darker themed games. I do also always put like trigger and content warnings whenever I play things, so I try to be a comfy, cozy space where horror fans can just kind of get together and listen to me swear like a sailor, because I have a potty mouth.
Hell yeah.
Gasp.
Like gas. Me, an adult with a swearing problem. Let's go.
Oh no. Orzul, tell us about you.
Yeah, so I am a variety streamer, but really recently I've been leaning more into FromSoft games. Elden Ring was my first game that I played last year, and I started playing Sekiro recently, and I actually am doing my first NG+, and it is a challenge run. I'm doing it sword only, charmless. So any of you that know it, so I am doing it, okay? And I guess what? I'm doing pretty damn good.
Yeah,
all right,
doing so well. Let's go.
Pretty damn good. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. And I'm definitely interested in doing more challenge runs. But I also do indie cozy games sometimes. I have such a deep love for indie games. So whether it's indie cozy games, indie horror games, and I also do like really comfy, cozy YouTube vlogging as well too.
Fun!
So I don't know, I try to do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Garin, tell us about you.
I do what I want. Most of the time.
Got it.
I'll do what I want.
Valid.
I play a lot of spooky games. I play a lot of challenging games. We do, crafting. I do a lot of like multiplayer stuff. I have a date night with my best friend. We do every Wednesday where we play games together. My kid Siebes often plays games with us. Everything in between. I'm a big roguelike player. I'm a big Souls player. I'm a big survival crafter. I've been like elbow deep in Dune for the last week. You want to hang out with somebody who's like really big into Halloween, has a bunch of cats who constantly punch me in the face while I stream. I'm actually surprised you guys didn't see it, because it's usually a thing where you'll just see a paw come off of camera and start like tapping me in the face.
I did see that before we were on screen. I watched one of your cats just kind of like tap at you.
That's Biscuit. Yeah, he's the real streamer. I'm Grinning Hazard everywhere. If you want to see me talk about gaming and stuff, you'll find me on Blue Sky or on Twitch. If you want to see me try to pick a fight with Elon Musk, you can find me on Twitter doing that on a regular basis. Someday he'll answer.
Get out!
Someday he'll answer.
Hands.
His hands are rated E for everyone.
Yes.
Go.
And I'm
The theme of today.
This whole time I've been here doing nothing. Hi, I'm Jen. This is my channel. I'm the stream team leader of the Firekeepers. I started the Firekeepers last year when I hit partner because I love Souls games, but I don't love the toxic community. So I really wanted to create and cultivate an intentional space where we are caring about each other and each other's experiences in a game that has so much potential for so much good.
I love that.
And we have been doing so much good, and this has been really, really fun. But if you haven't guessed, I do play Souls games. I play them every Sunday. I've been playing them for years, but I'm still on my first playthroughs because there's so many of them. I also stream Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Wednesdays I do fantasy and horror, just to spice things up, because I do have that ADHD and I burn out on stuff if I do one thing all the time. And going on the long list, I'm also a D&D player. I run a D&D game over on the Overprepared DM, all sorts of stuff. I have many interests.
I love the cattail.
This space is great, and I'm so excited that you guys did this with me. So thank you so much for joining me with this panel. This was so great.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
This is so much fun.
Blast.
this was a blast. I'm gonna pop off to a break to say goodbye to my friends, and then we're gonna pop back, recap, and raid out to a Firekeeper who's hopefully live right now. I'm sure we are. Yes, let's go. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.